Ahsoka episode 5, Shadow Warrior. The last episode ended with something really, really promising with the reveal of Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka in the world between worlds from Rebels. That is something that is pretty crazy to dive back into because of just the what she's in and where she ended up. It's like that place is so significant. It can do a lot of different things, and seeing Anakin is also just like, what is going on? So that's where we left off. And this episode, I am feeling very strange about it. I think I am a little let down, but there's still some really good stuff in it. And we're just going to have to see where the rest of the season goes before I can really think like, oh, this was kind of just pointless, or it's like, okay, let's just get to it. So we jump back into the episode. Before we even see Ahsoka and Anakin again, we do get to jump back to where the last battle had occurred, and we get to see the wrecked map that Baylan destroyed. Hera finally arrives, but she arrives way too late. She does see Huang, who made his way to the little map area, and he's just kind of holding Sabine's helmet. He's very upset that Sabine and Ahsoka split up, and they're now missing. That's kind of where we picked up at the beginning. Then we jump back to Anakin and Ahsoka in the world between worlds. So again, the world between worlds in this show looks incredible. It looks a lot better than even in Rebels. And I know Rebels is like the starting point of seeing that place. This is like another evolution of what it would look like, and now it's kind of got just a much... I like the atmosphere of it a lot better. So we can see Anakin and Ahsoka, just like we did at the end. And it comes to this point where Anakin starts talking to Ahsoka, and we can't tell yet what's going on with why she's seeing Anakin, and even throughout the episode, I don't know if they explain it that well, but seeing Anakin, he's not like a Force ghost or anything like that, but he's in the world between worlds with Ahsoka, like he's literally physically there with her as well. Like there's no sort of weird Force thing going on between with Anakin or Ahsoka or anything. It's like he's there with her right then and there. So he starts going on about, they're seeing each other again. Ahsoka looks older now, and then he says, I'm here to train you one last time. You have to choose. Do you want to live or do you want to die? And that's kind of the general idea of the entire story of Ahsoka in this episode, is just, do you want to live or die? I did watch through all the scenes that are going to come up here, and it's like, I think that kind of seems to be it. So we get to see Ahsoka and Anakin fight. Anakin turns his lightsaber on. It's kind of almost like a friendly battle at first, where they're just kind of like, dueling back and forth. And I gotta say, this fight looked the best. This is the best fight we've seen in this show so far. I think I don't know if they're just like reusing styles that they use in the prequels of Anakin and stuff, but I think it looked incredible. Anakin's fighting style and just the way he moved with Ahsoka in the fight, I think it looked really good. So everything in the world between worlds specifically, we'll get into what happens later with Ahsoka, but everything in the world between worlds with Ahsoka and Anakin is incredible. It's the best part of this episode easily, and I just wish we would have gotten more of it, but we'll get to that. So we do cut back to Jacen Syndulla, who is actually a pretty prominent character in this episode. I just don't know if I care that much about Jacen Syndulla too much. We get to see Chopper again. He doesn't do much in this episode, but he's there with Hera, and they're trying to figure things out. They're trying to figure out where Ahsoka went, and he is like starting to hear things within the water, in the waves, and they've already teased that this kid is going to be Force sensitive, and he's going to want to become a Jedi one day. So, as Hera can't figure out what happened to Ahsoka, they're just kind of stumped. He starts to listen closely. He's like, Mom, please listen to the water. Listen to the water and the waves closely. And he's like, he can hear lightsaber fighting in the water. And then he tells Hera to listen to it. And then she starts to hear it, which is even weirder because I think it's some sort of Force thing that he's now feeling. He's starting to have these Force sensitivities about him. And then he tells his mom to listen too. It's like, Hera's not Force sensitive. She shouldn't be able to hear anything of what's going on. But whatever. That scene was weird. I don't like that they just... It was weird. I don't know if I like what they did with Jacen here. It's just kind of like, how convenient is it that this kid is suddenly just hearing sounds from the water of something that he's not even, like, it doesn't even seem like it's a thing that's actually happening with Ahsoka and Anakin. I don't get how he could be hearing that. And it's extremely convenient that he's able to locate Ahsoka with this. It's strange. Before we cut back to Ahsoka and Anakin, we do get to see Carson Teva, I believe that's his name, and Huang. They get that little interaction. You get a name drop of Kanan Jarrus. He's like, what's going on with that kid? And Huang's like, Kanan Jarrus was his father. He's a Jedi. He was a Jedi, and this kid has abilities as well. So obviously we're teasing that, Jason now has abilities. So I don't know how far they're going to go. Maybe they'll do something with Ahsoka and Jason later at the end of the season, which I hope they might do. Maybe she'll train Jason instead of Sabine, because Sabine is just not Force sensitive. Maybe she'll train Jason. Jason is very much clued into the Force, a lot more than Sabine ever has been already, and this kid has not done that much. We cut back to Anakin and Ahsoka fighting in the world between worlds. I love seeing Hayden back. Hayden has already done a lot better in this show than he ever was in Obi-Wan Kenobi. I hated what they did with Hayden and just Anakin and Vader and everything, and I hated everything about that show. It was bad. I loved the fan response to him coming back within that show, the Obi-Wan show, but everything they did with that character and Obi-Wan was just a disaster, and I'm just so happy to see Hayden back under a story where someone finally cares and has a understanding and a care of the character of Anakin Skywalker, and it's so fun to see. It's so fun to see. So as they're fighting, Anakin actually slashes the portal thing that they're standing on, the pathway, and it like falls and vaporizes, and Ahsoka plummets down into the world between worlds. It's like, where does that lead? Well, this is the stuff that I have very, very weird feelings about. We're jumping back into flashbacks. Sort of flashbacks. It's like Ahsoka imagining herself in a flashback, so she's like back to a young Padawan in the Clone Wars, like we've seen in the Clone Wars series, but now she's imagining it like she's actually just seeing it instead of like seeing the flashback. She's like in the flashback. So she's kind of walking around a little bit. You could see it's like her early design of the Clone Wars. And I think the look for Ahsoka is actually okay for this first bit of the Clone Wars Ahsoka, because she's very young at the start of the Clone Wars when we first started her journey in the show in that first movie. It's like she's much younger. But they do jump back to another flashback, which jumps a little bit forward, where they use the same actress to play her again, and it's a little off-putting. We do get to see Hayden as Anakin in the Clone Wars, so he's wearing all of his Clone Wars armor. Very cool to see. And we get to see really cool fight. I did like to kind of see the clones and Ahsoka and Anakin running, in the Clone Wars, but there's something very off-putting about all of these flashback scenes. And I just can't get over it, really. But if you see in the background, it's like, okay, you got Anakin, you got Ahsoka, and you got this clear representation of a battle going on, right? You got a bunch of clones everywhere. But where is the battle? Where the hell are they? You can't see anything. I get it. Sometimes in these battles and stuff, it gets a little hazy. There's smoke everywhere. But it just feels so cheap to me. Because you're seeing all these different things that they're doing, and it's like they can see what they're doing and they can see where they're going, but we can literally see nothing. We see a few ships that are CG'd in, kind of in the smoke, but that's it. You don't really get to see anything. So obviously they're in the volume, probably running around with this hazy smoke screen where you're not actually really supposed to see anything, to save budget probably and save money and not have at least some. I would have rather had a bad CGI background of some sort of planet or something than this hazy smoke screen to cover up everything. I think it looks ridiculous. It's fine. It works, but it's not great. It doesn't look great to me. And that was my issue with the first flashback and the second one, but the design of Ahsoka in the first flashback was fine. Hayden was great as Anakin, and you get to hear Tamora Morrison as the clones again too. You don't get to see Tamora, but you get to hear him. He came in and voiced a few of them, so that's nice to see. We got a little scene with Ahsoka and a clone who's like dying, and you get an interaction with Anakin and Ahsoka, and she's upset that she led some clones into battle and they died and stuff. You could see Rex in the background too, which is pretty cool. And it's just really cool to see Hayden in that Clone Wars armor that we saw Anakin in the first few seasons of the Clone Wars before they updated and moved on into the timeline. This is like his first armor outfit that he wore in the Clone Wars. So kind of cool to see that. His hair is shorter, just like it was in the show. I think it's cool. And again, Ahsoka, I think she looks good in the first flashback. I think it's a well done design and a well choice for the younger Ahsoka. But when they jump into the next one, it's weird to me. So as that first flashback ends, you get to see Hayden walk off into battle, and you get to see this really cool silhouette of him walking the battle with a lightsaber on as, you know, the Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker. And then you get a little glimpse of Darth Vader as it kind of flickers at him, Darth Vader walking in the battle. So you get this in-between thing of Ahsoka still like kind of freaking out that like this is what happened to her master and she couldn't save him, and there he is, there's Darth Vader. So Anakin was always destined to become Darth Vader, and she just couldn't do anything about it. We do jump back to Hera and the Ghost and what Jason's doing and her X-Wings that she's got with her, and they're trying to find Ahsoka, and Jason basically told them, you need to search the waters. You need to continue to search the waters, and you need to get real low, and you need to get to Ahsoka, because he definitely believes that she's in there, and she's using like some weird force thing that he's hearing, that we heard earlier, to find Ahsoka. And I think it's incredibly strange. It's kind of just a plot device to go and find Ahsoka at the end of the episode, because you'll see at the end of the episode where she is. She's literally just kind of still there in the water. But here we go. The next flashback. This is something that I think I would have really liked. It would have been so cool to see. And some of it is kind of cool. I mean, you get to see Maul's Mandalorians, but we do jump back in the flashbacks of the Siege of Mandalore. So this is obviously from the Clone Wars Season 7 finale, that big final arc. And this is when Ahsoka came in and, you know, took out Maul and dealt with Maul on Mandalore, and then as they were transporting him back, Order 66 happened, and that's how it all ended. So it's cool to see it, right? And I think they're still doing the stupid smoke haze screen where like the entire atmosphere here on Mandalore that we're seeing right here looks nothing like it did in the Season 7 of Clone Wars. I don't know what time, like, I don't know what time period this would be within that battle, because we kind of saw that battle take place. Like, we saw the battle, we saw what happened, we knew what it looked like, we knew what the atmosphere looked like, we knew what Mandalore looked like during that battle. And it's just kind of like this weird orange haze. Like, the planet had like this blue to it, you know. It's always what Mandalore kind of looked like. And I know it's in battle, it just kind of put me off again. And another thing that put me off is they're using the same actress for Ahsoka. Now, like, she was good with the lightsaber fighting for the quick fight scene that she did as Ahsoka. You got the Clone Wars Season 7 design for Ahsoka and everything. It looks the same design-wise for what she's wearing, but she looks way too young in the next flashback. We do get to see Rex again in his Phase 2 armor, and we get just a quick scene. You get to hear Tamora Morrison voice him, and then he kind of runs off. It was kind of random, but this is kind of like, here's Rex. Remember him? And then he runs off, and that's it. We never see him again. But Ahsoka, she's kind of watching the battle as all the clones run in. You get to see some ships fly around, but again, it's just hidden in smoke because they just, I guess, didn't have the desire to fully show us what is going on. Like, they could have done that, and I wish they would have done that. So again, I think she looks way too young now. I think, you know, she's obviously a few years older, and it's a little off-putting. Like, it's fine. It works. It's not, like, incredibly weird. Like, if it can work, it's fine. It's not like the end of the world. So she's standing there, Siege of Mandalore, clones are running in. Then Anakin walks back up because he's still kind of part of this whole big hallucination flashback thing. He's in his Revenge of the Sith outfit once again, and you get a little interaction of Ahsoka just kind of saying, like, yeah, well, you were great. You were a lot of things, but you were also dangerous, and you were also much more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. And Anakin's kind of upset about that. And then he turns on Ahsoka. So we get to see kind of like a dark side Vader Anakin in this. And now this is probably the best part. After this flashback kind of ends, Anakin turns on Ahsoka. He's kind of mad that she's not like maybe learning the things he may want her to learn. And again, this is kind of like that battle within inside of her that like she couldn't save Anakin, and he was always going to end up being this dark side Sith Lord that she could never end up saving in the end. So he turns on her, and then he kicks her out of the flashback back into the world between worlds. And then the fight continues. Now, this is the best shot, the best 2 seconds of this entire episode. Anakin walks out of the smoke, and you got the smoke in the world between worlds too. And then it flickers, it like flashes to Vader for like once or twice. It does it like twice, and I think it's really cool. It's the best shot of the episode by far. I think it's incredible. I just love that visualization of Anakin and Vader. I think it's really cool. So he's still like a Sith Vader, but he's as Anakin Hayden again. The fight continues between Ahsoka and him, and yeah, that's kind of where it ends up going in the end. It's like one big final battle between this Sith Anakin, or Vader now, versus Ahsoka. He's got like his Sith eyes now, and once again, as I said, the battles in the world between worlds itself is the best parts of the Anakin stuff for this episode. So yeah, it looks really, really great. You see Hayden there again. And I just love seeing Hayden back. I think it's just so cool. I think it's so cool to see him back. And I think he looks great in this episode, especially like when he became Sith. He got the Sith eyes. He got the red lightsaber. I think it's all so cool because we didn't really get to see much of, Anakin like this. He became this after Order 66, and he took out Mace Windu, and then he became Vader at the end. And that's all we really got to see. So it's just kind of like seeing Vader before he got into the suit. So I think that's cool. We got a decision here between Anakin and Ahsoka. And it's basically like, do you want to live or die? And it's also this like battle inside of Ahsoka, I think at least. Like, is this like a dark side turn, or is this like no, you're gonna stop? You're going to think about what's exactly going on, because she fought him a little more, and she got his lightsaber up to his head, and she's thinking about it. It's like she's almost, I don't know if this is like a Sith eye version of Ahsoka. I don't know if they did this, and I did notice it. I don't know if it's a reflection of the lightsaber in her eyes, but as she leaned in closer with the red lightsaber, her eyes did flash to like a yellowish, goldish, like a Sith look. Again, I don't know if it's like a reflection in her eyes, but I think it was really cool. And then after that, though, she just dropped the saber and she stopped. She said, "I choose to live." And I don't really know what that is supposed to mean, except for the fact that she's literally dying and drowning in the water. Like, she's literally dying, so I guess she just chooses to live. Okay? So I guess that's it. And Anakin says, "All right, I guess there's much more for you to learn, or there's more hope in you." He turns back into good, nice guy Anakin, and then he fades away. And then Ahsoka starts to have water surround her and lift up above her head. And that's where we see Ahsoka she's actually floating in the water, just like dying and drowning. So my question is, what was the world between worlds? How did she get there? What did we just watch? Was it all just a hallucination? I'm starting to think it was just a hallucination. Now, the Force is weird. I get it. It could have been like Anakin reaching out and speaking to her through the Force as she was dying. But I don't know. They could have done that without going to the world between worlds. The world between worlds is a very interesting place, and they didn't do anything with it. They literally went there to have that visually cool, stunning area to fight in. And then they literally went into flashbacks and this weird flashback thing. It's like they didn't even use the world between. Now, I don't want them to use the world between worlds necessarily. Like, I don't want the time travel stuff. But they didn't really give us any explanations on how she was there and how they, any more explanation on what this place even is. Because we still don't really know that much about it. And they gave us nothing. They gave us nothing at all about this place. Ahsoka didn't even make any mention of it. She's been there before. So you think she would have brought it up that, like, holy crap, I'm in where Ezra pulled me out from, before dying from Vader. Why am I here again? Like, that didn't even happen. So I think it's just weird that they chose to have her and Anakin be there instead of just some sort of, like, I don't know, some planet or something. They could have had some hallucination of Anakin and Ahsoka on a planet somewhere. Like, it didn't have to be in this weird, like, world between worlds place. It just needed to be there. So they saved Ahsoka. They found her. She's back on the Ghost. You get to see her wake up, and then she walks out to meet Jason and Hera. And she's also got, like, a new headband thing on, and then she's wearing her, like, white cloak now from the end of Rebels. So I don't know if that... It's weird, because we've seen the scene already with Sabine and Ahsoka where she had the white cloak, but she has the white cloak now, but she didn't have it when they changed the scene in Ahsoka when she went to get Sabine, but now she's wearing the white cloak later. I don't know how that works. Like, it's kind of a weird thing that they did there. But she's wearing like her white outfit now that she was wearing. At least I believe it is from the end of Rebels. So it's maybe just a continuity error a little bit there. But they're back at the map area and they're trying to figure out still, where did they go? Where did they go and what happened with Sabine? And so Ahsoka's doing this new thing, at least for her. She's doing this thing and she's like touching objects and she's able to figure out the history of what happened in that area in that specific timeline. So she stands there, she holds the broken map and she figures out that Sabine helped Baylan kind of, and Baylan tricked her into giving the map back so they could get the coordinates, and then she went off with our villains. So she knows what happened now. She gets an idea what happened. And she knows that Sabine now didn't, I guess, turned on them in a way. She kind of fell victim to Baylan's words. And now she's with them as well. So she figured it out by doing that. And then after that, she looks up. And they're still trying to figure out how are they going to get to Sabine. And how are they going to get to them to stop the Thrawn stuff too. Well, they look up and there they are. There's the space whales. The Purgle. You knew they were going to come back because we've shown them a few times now. It's like they keep mentioning them. They keep showing them. It's like, there they are. We're going to finally do this crazy thing of the Purgle can also go to that other galaxy. So, as they get prepared to meet up with the Purgle to try and get to the other galaxy, Hera has one last interaction with Mon Mothma, and she does mention that, yeah, you're really stretching your limits here with your power, and yeah, you might be stripped of your power as general in the New Republic. So that is a story they set up there at the end of the episode. It's like Hera has been pushing it a little too far, and they're not happy about it. The New Republic's not happy about it, and they're thinking about maybe stripping her of her general rank or whatever. So we'll see where that one goes. I don't think it'll end up happening. Maybe it'll just be like she'll make good with them and all's peachy. I don't know. But that's where we leave Hera's story, really. And then we get to see Ahsoka, and I will say there is something a little different with Ahsoka now. She's obviously wearing her white cloak and everything's like all visually very bright and white now. It's like they're very much trying to tell us that like everything's all nice now. And Ahsoka's all brand new. She's all patched up and she's ready to go on this crazy new journey as rediscovered herself. And you can tell she's like a little happier. She's like a little more upbeat. And that is something a lot of people have complained about in this show, is like Ahsoka's very, stoic and just kind of calm and very bland. And I think she still kind of is, but she seems a little happier, a little bit more emotion going on in her. I think that's kind of cool. I will say there's been the most emotion through Ahsoka with Rosario Dawson in this episode than there has been in any other of her stuff so far. So I'm glad to finally see that. But they're up in the sky to go meet with the Purgle, to literally go to those freaking space whales and go talk to them and say, hey, can you get me that other galaxy over there? Can I hitch a ride? She walks out onto her ship again because she loves doing that. As she's doing that, the New Republic arrives to basically try and stop them and kind of talk to Ahsoka and Hera and figure out what the hell's going on because they keep disobeying them. And Ahsoka walks out. She lifts her hand up. She's doing the animal stuff like Ezra. She speaks to the big massive whale, and of course, they're just going to go inside the whale's mouth and go in hyperspace. I don't really know what else I expected, but I think it's really funny. They're like, oh, they're going to go in the mouth. I don't know what I expected, but they literally fly into the mouth, and there's an understanding with the Purgle and Ahsoka, and they're gonna go. They're gonna go find Sabine and Thrawn and whatever the hell's gonna go on there. So they fly up into space, and New Republic's like, what the hell's going on? And then they blast off. And that's it. That's how the episode ends. So the New Republic's kind of dumbfounded. Hera might have her rank stripped. Ahsoka is all brand new and wearing all of her white cloaks. And they fly off to go find Sabine and Baylan Skoll. I really, really wish we would have seen some Baylan Skoll in this episode. Ray Stevenson's like the best part of this show. We didn't see him in this episode, but that's it. So the stuff that I think everyone was looking forward to in this episode was the Anakin stuff, obviously. I think all the Anakin stuff in the World Between Worlds fights and the visuals there looked great. I think it looked awesome, and I think that was my favorite part of the episode too. I think it really was. There was too much of just Jason Syndulla standing on the edge of the cliff looking at the water. I think there was too much of that. I just didn't like... I think it might just be the visuals of the flashbacks, but I think it looked weird. I think Ahsoka looked a little weird for the Siege of Mandalore. I think it looked really cheap for the Clone Wars stuff. I think all that Clone Wars stuff, just you could tell they were just trying to hide any location they were in and just kind of give little glimpses of ships and maybe some buildings. And I just didn't feel super grand like the Clone Wars was. So the flashbacks were fine, but they weren't great. And there wasn't as much Anakin as I thought there would be, which is fine. I think we saw enough. And I don't like that they didn't explain the world between world stuff at all. They didn't have to go into the time travel stuff again. I know it's controversial, but you could have explained it in one line. Just like explain how she's there, you know? It's a weird Force thing to begin with. You could just explain, like, oh, she popped up there because she almost died. They didn't touch on it at all. So she was there and then she just wasn't. I think that's really strange. It's for such an important, like, creation of Dave Filoni's, where he made this whole massive, like, time travel place in between space and time for Star Wars. And it can have very big impacts on the galaxy. And just kind of tossing Ahsoka in there just to have a battle with Anakin and then go out and not die. So I think I liked the last episode more. I thought I would love this one, like next level, like love it. I think it was good. It was the second best episode of the series by far, but it wasn't my favorite. We still have to see Thrawn. We're still going to see Baylan Skoll again. I can't wait to see him again. And we're going to see that whole story unfold with Thrawn. And I think that'll be very exciting. I'm excited to see what that new galaxy looks like, what's going on there. But yeah, that's it. That's my feelings on the episode. I guess I don't really do rankings in my reviews and stuff. I just kind of like to talk about them, my feelings on it. But let's just say a 0 out of 10 rating. What's my ranking? I'd have to give it maybe like a 7, a 7.5. I don't know. It's just kind of like, it's good. A lot of it's good, but there's so many glaring issues that it's not as great as the last episode. I think last episode was it was a lot better. So that's my feelings on Ahsoka episode 5. 3 more episodes left. Maybe we'll see Thrawn next week finally. I think we very well could maybe see him. I don't know. Maybe Ezra too. But that's it for now. We'll see what happens next week.